Hi guys, and today I'm going to review the game Chasm the Rift. Now this is kind of typical of a recent swathe of retro style FPS games built in a similar mold to Doom. Although this one actually is from 97 originally, so it's only a few years after the kind of games that it is similar to. But nevertheless, let's read what it says on GOG.com, where I got this game. Very cheap. Get some good games cheap on GOG. Humankind, in the process of evolution, has encountered a mysterious phenomenon: the destruction of the normal flow of time. From the past to the future, time rifts are forming in Earth's atmosphere. These rifts lead to different periods of history. Through them, the most aggressive creatures from the past, present, and the future have begun to infiltrate our time. These mutants, known as Time Strikers, have begun a complete and systematic eradication of all human life. A bloody time striking melts, I tell you. You are a specially trained commando who has been volunteered to investigate a recent attack by the Time Strikers. Utilizing an arsenal of devastating weapons and mysterious items from the past and future, you have been authorized to terminate any mutant creatures that attempt to obstruct your investigation. Each assignment gets you closer to the heart of your goal. A mission briefing gets you moving in the right direction, but it's up to you to carry out your orders. Grab your weapon and report to the commander immediately. Over and out, sir. So, it's a good game. I enjoyed playing it. 14 stages, 4 bosses, and it could be a little bit longer, but overall, a really enjoyable game. Definitely has a retro feel to it. For the price on GOG, it's definitely worth it. So the graphics definitely have classic feel. You can play the game on DOSBox, and you can run it using old-fashioned graphics, retro graphics, or you can basically play with graphics that are probably like the most high-end Air Force type computer at the time of release would have only been able to run, but of course we can all run these kind of graphics now. So the game could last longer, but it's actually a very challenging game, and if you complete it on normal, it's the kind of game that you can just go back and play on hard. And of course this does actually come with an add-on. You can it's not immediately clear that where the add-on is, but you can look it up by going to your GOG folder, and you will find the add-on there, as well as a level editor. If you want to make your own mods, you know, this is not a new game. It's a bit like making a Doom WOD. So when this game was released in 97, a lot of FPS games were becoming more open world. You know, you had Delta Force on the PC, which I think came a little bit after this, but around this time, and games like Turok or Bond 64, where the style was beginning to open up. Consoles like the N64 could process larger arenas, you know, more like a modern day Call of Duty type game, where you're basically on the same path, but you know, the arenas are wide and you can have fun investigating. This is very much more like Doom or Quake. It's pretty linear, but the levels have lots of fun features that you would expect. I mean, it's close to Doom in many ways, right down to the tab toggleable line drawn map. But yeah, it actually doesn't spoil the game at all. If you like this type of game, if you like games like Doom, then this has kind of all those basics there, and you just don't expect any cover systems or complex modeled arenas. This is a Spartan, old-fashioned shooting game. Said the artwork and the little switches, the way that you have to go through locked doors, similar to Doom, to get to the end, and the little switches, the little trapdoors, the lifts, and so on, are all kind of fun, and nicely put together. But understand level design. I wouldn't say the level design was quite a Doom standard, but it's not bad. There's actually some pretty original ideas in this game. Yeah, so you have the usual things like teleporters and some cool booby traps. A little nod to Tomb Raider there, where they have spiked walls and things that fall on you and so on. But the monsters are visually really cool. Like there's some really big ones. Kind of reminds me of Quake 2. When Quake 2 had some really big, powerful enemies that kind of characterized that game. So too in Chasm the Rift, there's some big meathead enemies, but the weapons you get are pretty powerful, so mowing them down can be fairly easy. One thing I noticed about the style of the game, which I think is kind of important to understand, is that the enemies in this are very, very powerful, and they tend to shoot straight and fast. Any enemy that uses ranged equipment, guns, just like you, but they use kind of these alien tech guns, and oh boy, they damage you fast, and good luck avoiding them. The way that you fight a lot of these very overpowered enemies is basically by ducking in and out of doors, or having to retreat through the paths that you've already trodden. Now, this isn't a problem, it's good, it makes it a challenge. But yeah, basically, the difference, I guess, to the dynamic is that, say in like another retro game like Doom, or original sort of nowadays retro, like Doom is, if you're quick, you can actually run around and dodge around the enemies and sort of shoot them as you go. Whereas on this, the enemies are very powerful, and you have to really engage your brain to defeat them. They also have a habit of jumping out on you from around right angles at very close range, which often results in you having to use the load feature because there's just no time to react until you know that they're there. In a way, I really like this anyway. It didn't spoil the game for me. It's satisfying shooting the weapons. They're similar to other FPS of this. There's like a BFG clone, and another thing I enjoyed is the level bosses. Although a lot of them are not very easy to complete. I mean, the clues that you're given are kind of tricky. Takes a lot of head scratching sometimes to kill some of the bosses, but they are cool, and there's some cool set pieces. I particularly like one where a great big hulking monster comes after you, and you can turn on a fan and just suck the sucker into the fan, and it gibs everywhere when he hits the fan. The story itself actually is very similar, very simple. You kind of consult with your superiors in this human against the monsters type saga, but not too often and not too much. I mean, it's fairly basic. And I did mention the game developer, actually, I should mention, is Action Forms Limited, who are actually a Ukrainian developer, like the Metro series, developed by Ukrainians. And for 97, thinking that developers in Ukraine made this. They've done a brilliant job. I mean, if you told me it was an American or a British AAA release, I would have believed you. They've done a good job. Yeah, if you like this sort of game, like I said, I've told you the kind of characteristics, the sort of FPS that it is within the genre, but it's very satisfying. There's lots of you get plenty of ammo and plenty of destructive weapons. The weapons, of course, are very similar to just clones of more popular FPS of the time, basically. But definitely some powerful weapons. Nod to maybe Turok there, or Quake 2, where tough enemies but with powerful weapons. And it's kind of brutal and eclectic. This is a hostile world, and you have to move quick and retreat a lot of the time to defeat these tough sons of guns. A good, brutal sort of alien monster shooting game with a neat retro charm, but not so retro that you're looking at a bunch of GIMP line drawings on a screen. The graphics are still pretty cool. So yeah, overall, I think, considering the basement price for this game, I didn't even pay a $5 for it. You know, it's very good. The only thing I would say generally is the lifespan is, I mean, you complete it in about maybe 15 hours, which you know, but other than that, excellent game. I really enjoyed it, and man, I give it I think 8 is a good score for it. Good achievement, I would say. So yeah, check it out if it sounds good to you. Obviously you can see some of the action I've posted here. I enjoyed it. Cheers guys, and I'll see you for another one soon.